Hello, hello. We are doing the Juneteenth on the Juneteenth, the famous promise stream that I have promised for a long time now. And we're gonna discover what's up. We're gonna discover what the whole Juneteenth. So we have to discover the secret of what the Juneteenth is, or else. June number 19. Stay tuned to find out. We're gonna find out right now through our favorite page, the wiki. I have so really wild things to go through today, gigglers. Oh wow! Celebrate freedom. So I think we've gotten a little bit of a hint of what this day is all about. The Google has given us a bit of a hint of what's going on today, I think. Wow. Google is woke now? Yeah, of course. We're gonna investigate what's up. Oh, actually, it has a Polish wiki as well. The day of freedom from slavery, emancipation from slavery, which is interesting that in Polish it has to be like super specified in the brackets that it's from slavery. Juneteenth. From what I've learned about it behind the scenes, I find one thing very, very interesting. And I hope everybody will see this is this sort of the theme of a full circle. Officially, well, actually, I think we should really get into the whole topic that, yeah, slavery is bad, so the US should really sort of fully stop it and, maybe stop with the little caveat that it does with the prison system. Yeah, I'm pretty sure what Bothawagen is alluding to is the prison system with the legal slavery. I'm pretty sure that's what you're alluding to, right? The fact that prisoners become de facto slaves. Juneteenth, officially Juneteenth, National Independence Day. Yeah, I think that should be addressed at some point, right? Like, it's pretty ridiculous. People that are in prison cannot even vote, and in Poland you can, for example. You saw from my ruse. It's true. Although ruse is not here now. Juneteenth is a federal holiday in the United States commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. Would be cool if America didn't imprison 10% of its population. It would. Okay, is there any data? Is there any data on how much the prison labor actually affects the economy while we're at it? 10% is a lot. Is there any data on that topic? How much the prison labor affects the economy? Is it significant? Is it insignificant? What's the boost to economy from that? Deriving its name from combining June and 19th. I'm not sure why that name was chosen, Juneteenth. Okay, you don't know if the 10% is an actual figure. Well, I guess we would have to look that up as well. It is celebrated on the anniversary of the order by Major General Gordon Granger. Is Gordon Granger based, or did he just do the order? 8% of Americans are convicted felons. Oh, ouch. Right, because convicted felons are people that have a, what do you call it, record, right? They might not be in prison, but they have a criminal record, right? Does that, yeah? Do you mean that by convicted felons with a criminal record? Okay. A criminal record can really screw your life, I think. So is this person based or no? Gordon Granger was a Republican career U.S. Army officer and a Union general during the American Civil War, where he distinguished himself at the Battle of Chickamauga. Yeah, I know. There was this weird switch of the parties where the Republican Party sort of rebranded itself as the Democrats, and the Democrats rebranded themselves as Republicans, right? And I often listen to this far right argument how the Democrats are the parties of the plantations, etc., that want to use black people because they sort of take advantage of the switch, which is pretty interesting to me. And by interesting, I mean pretty disgusting, you know? I I would really actually like to read about this switch, why it even happened, why this rebranding happened. The Republicans have no historical understanding. Well, I have to admit my historical understanding of this switch is pretty weak. Like, I just know it happened, but I don't know how it happened, when exactly it happened, what was the lead up to it happening, what was the exact process of it. I don't know these things. So, I find this really interesting here. Proclaiming freedom for enslaved people in Texas on June 19, 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued. I find this very interesting. I find this extremely interesting because it goes like full circle. The US made Texas become a separate, independent entity by first flooding slavers into Texas, as we recall from history, right? And then the US entered and took over Texas and turned it into a slave state. And here we see the proclamation of emancipation in Texas for enslaved people in Texas. So it went all like full circle, you know? Texas went full circle because it started as part of a place that did not really want slavery. Because Mexico didn't really want slavery. I'm pretty sure it was illegal. We've learned about it when learning about the lead up to the Mexico-American War, which was as peril. The psychometrician expert agreed with me that it's the same thing that Russia is trying to do to Ukraine. The US basically did, well, Pearl said it wasn't basically. The US did to Mexico, right? Juneteenth has since been observed annually in various parts of the United States. Is it already the 19th in the United States? Or it's already the 19th in the United States, right? It should be. I know I live like 100 hours in the future, but I'm pretty sure it's already the 19th in the US. Nice. Happy Juneteenth. I believe that things like emancipation should be celebrated internationally. I think things like this should be international sort of celebrations, you know? Oh, -9. Because I think this affects more than just the US. I think this sort of topics isn't just a domestic affair, quote unquote, since, well, for example, the people that were emancipated were, descendants of the people that were kidnapped from other parts of the world. It's like a big thing. So I think it's fair to celebrate this internationally. I wonder, is this celebrated officially only in the US, or um, or is it maybe celebrated more broadly on the American continent? Does Canada celebrate this in any way, or Mexico? Or do the official celebrations just happen in the US proper? He says at least some people in Mexico, Juneteenth is also celebrated by the Muskogos, descendants of black Seminoles who escaped from slavery in 1852 and settled in uh, Coahuila, Mexico. Seems there's some celebration in parts of Mexico according. Nice. Oh my gosh, you're not no patience. Often broadly celebrating African American culture. The day was recognized as a federal holiday in 2021. Wait. What? Yeah, but let me get this straight. June 19th, 1865, and since 1865 it has been observed annually in various parts of the United States as a celebrated, but it was only made a federal holiday in 2021. I have to grab a calculator. I have to grab a calculator for this math. 156 years. 156 years had to pass until it became a national holiday, a federal holiday. It's okay. I'm being like I'm super like, I have to be bombastic, okay? Also, I'm an artist, so I'm bad at maths, okay? I have to be bad at maths because I'm an artist. Jesus Christ. 156 years. Can you believe this? This is a bit outrageous to me, to be honest. Like, God. If you're good at math, you have to hand in your paintbrushes. Oh my God. What have I done? My mom is a painter and she passed her final high school exam from math. She's actually pretty good at math. Never mind. Forget what I said. Jesus Christ. What have I done? My mom would actually, when I had math lessons, she would just look over the teacher's shoulder, and she would give the answer, and then the math tutor would be like, wait, I have to wait. I'm not that fast. And then a few moments later, he'd be like, yeah, that's correct. And my mom would just smile smugly and go her way. But yes, was recognized as a federal holiday in 2021. Jesus Christ. With President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law, I'm willing to bet money that Trump would never do this, but who knows? Maybe there are some Trump supporters or Trump defenders that would say that definitely he would. I want to say I'm bad at math, but that's because I measure myself against people I met studying math. Oh, a math student. Early celebrations date back to 1866. Okay, so it's I guess, okay. At first involving church-centered community gatherings in Texas, they spread across the South and became more commercialized in 1920s and 1930s, often centering on a food festival. Oh my gosh! The Juneteenth is sounding better and better to my ears. A food festival centering on a is there a food festival this year that you can go to on the Juneteenth? Are there food festivals still? Is it actually barbecue? Is the food actually usually barbecue? I wish I was in the US today. It sounds so amazing. Sometimes. So what's the usual food that's being done in the food festivals of the Juneteenth? What is the usual cuisine of the Juneteenth festivals? Can anyone give me examples of dishes? Trump held a return rally during COVID on Juneteenth in Tulsa on the remembrance on the Tulsa race massacre, mostly likely as an FU to black people. Dan. Dan! Hello! Southern comfort food, I think. Okay. So I guess my question is, what is Southern comfort food? What is Southern comfort food? Do I have to Google Southern comfort food now? Common red foods for Juneteenth include red soda or lemonade, red velvet cake, and watermelon plus barbecue and great sides. Wow. I love all of these things. I love barbecue. I super love watermelon. Watermelon is one of my favorite fruits, actually, in the entire world. I think people that dislike watermelon are evil. Evil people dislike watermelon. Yeah, it's really wow. I've always loved watermelon. And you could always tell if a watermelon you can always do the knock test with a watermelon to see if I think watermelon sounds kind of it's not boring, it's good. I think it's good. I can do the knock test with a watermelon and see if it's good. You know? And I often did it. I did the knock test with watermelons. Don't diss the watermelons. They are nice. I know watermelons are not as out there as the durian fruit, but you know. Or is it durian fruit? Is it durian or durian? I have to check now. Okay, it's durian. I know watermelons are not out there like durian fruits, but it's nice, you know? People hate on durian fruits, but they are actually pretty nice. They have a um, onion flavor to it. They have an onion-like flavor to it. But we're getting sort of off topic. Yeah, people give. I don't know why people give the durian so much hate when it's actually pretty good. Watermelon flavored candy. Yeah, I can imagine. Wow, we have a melon supremacist in the chat. I see. No, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I ate durian. It doesn't smell that bad. Wow. We have a melon supremacist here. But okay, let's continue. Food festival. Participants in the Great migration brought these celebrations to the rest of the country. During the civil rights movement of the 1960s, these celebrations were eclipsed by the nonviolent determination to achieve civil rights, but grew in popularity again in the 1970s, with a focus on African American freedom and African American arts. Beginning with Texas, by proclamation in 1938 and by legislation in 1979, every U.S. state and the District of Columbia has formally recognized the holiday in some way. Okay, that sounds a bit better. That sounds a bit better. Juneteenth is also celebrated by the Muskogos, descendants of black Seminoles who escaped from slavery in 1852 and settled in Coahuila, Mexico. Celebratory traditions often include public readings of the Emancipation Proclamation. Celebratory traditions often include public readings of the Emancipation Proclamation. So we could do that as a start. Do it. We can do it. It would indicate that we are celebrating it officially. Okay, let's do it. January 1st, 1963. A transcription by the President of the United States of America, a proclamation, whereas on the 22nd day of September in the year of our Lord, 1862, a proclamation was issued by the President of the United States containing, among other things, the following, to wit: that on the first day of January in the year of our Lord, 1863, all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state, the people whereof shall then be in rebellion against the United States, shall be then thenceforward and forever free, and the executive government of the United States, including the military and naval authority thereof, will recognize and maintain the freedom of such persons, and will not do no act or acts to repress such persons, or any of them, in any efforts they may make for their actual freedom. Which, I'm sorry to intersect a thing while reading, but will do no act or acts to repress such person or any of them in any efforts they may make for their actual freedom. I would actually count redlining as sort of breaking that, but maybe it's just me. That the executive will, on the first day of January, aforesaid by proclamation, designate the states and parts of states, if any, in which the people thereof, respectively, shall then be in rebellion against the United States, and the fact that any state or the people thereof shall on that day be in good faith represented in the Congress of the United States by members chosen thereto at elections, wherein a majority of the qualified voters of such state shall have participated, shall, in the absence of strong countervailing testimony, be deemed conclusive evidence that such state and the people thereof are not then in rebellion against the United States. Now therefore, I, Abraham Lincoln. Now therefore, I, Abraham Lincoln. Okay, I'm gonna butcher the name. Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States by virtue of the power in me vested as Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Navy of the United States. Abraham Lincoln. In time of actual armed rebellion against the authority and government of the United States, and as a fit and necessary war measure for suppressing said rebellion, due on this first day of January in the year of our Lord, 1863, and in accordance with my purpose, so to do publicly proclaimed for the full period of 100 days from the day first above mentioned order, and designate as the states and parts of states wherein the people thereof respectively are this day in rebellion against the United States, the following to wit: Abraham Lincoln. My gosh. Lincoln. Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, except the parishes of St. Bernard, Plaquemines, Jefferson, St. John, St. Charles, St. James, Assumption, Terrebonne, La Fourche, St. Mary, St. Martin, and Orleans, including the city of New Orleans, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, except the 48 counties designated as West Virginia, and also the counties of Berkeley, Accomack, Northampton, Elizabeth City, York, Princess Anne, and Norfolk, including the cities of Norfolk and Portsmouth. Abraham. And which accepted parts are for the present left precisely as if this proclamation were not issued. Wait! The proclamations had exceptions? Had parts of the country that were exceptions? Am I reading this correctly? That the proclamation actually had parts which was like, oh, those parts don't matter? Am I reading this correctly? That basically the proclamation says, oh, but for now these places are gonna be like, as they were. That is so strange. I'm not reading this incorrectly, right? Can anybody help me here? I think that is a list of places that are in rebellion. Okay. And by virtue of the power and for the purpose aforesaid, I do order and declare that all persons held as slaves within said designated states and parts of states are and henceforward shall be free, and that the executive government of the United States, including the military and naval authorities thereof, will recognize and maintain the freedom of said persons. And I hereby enjoin upon the people so declared to be free to abstain from all violence, unless in necessary self-defense, and I recommend to them that in all cases, when allowed, they labor faithfully for reasonable wages. Reasonable wages, whatever that means. And I further declare and make known that such persons of suitable condition will be received into the armed service of the United States to garrison forts, positions, stations, and other places, and to man vessels of all sorts in said service. And upon this act, sincerely believed to be an act of justice, warranted by the Constitution upon military necessity, I invoked the I invoke the considerate judgment of mankind and the gracious favor of Almighty God. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the United States to be affixed, done at the city of Washington, this first day of January in the year of our Lord, 1863, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 87th, by the President Abraham Lincoln, William H. Savard, Secretary of State. So yes, we have done the tradition. We have read the whole Lincoln thing. Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln. And now we can continue. Singing traditional songs such as Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, and Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me.
You can hear it, right?
I looked over Jordan and what did I see? Coming forth to carry me home, a band of angels coming after me. Coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. If you get there before I do, coming forth to carry me home, tell all my friends I'm coming too. Coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. I'm sometimes up, I'm sometimes down, coming forth to carry me home, but still my soul feels heavenly bound, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home.
What do we think? Has a really old quality to it. And I don't mean the sound quality, I mean the way that people sang. I don't think people sing this. I think probably people don't sing this song in this way anymore. I think this has this old way of speaking and singing in it. That's probably not really a thing anymore. The newer versions probably sound a bit different. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it does sound like a huge classic. Yeah. Okay, so do we have maybe any literary works that we could take and read? Oh yeah, I think it's one of those regular songs at a contest here, and then it's definitely sung differently. I feel like a funeral, but in a good way. Yeah, that's because the way the speech patterns change, the way people speak changes, the way people sing songs changes as well. So it can be a pretty interesting window into the past to see how songs used to be sang. But yes, do we have any writers that we could read a bit on stream? My bondage and my freedom. How long is the book? We're not gonna read the whole book. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say we're not gonna read the whole thing. We were gonna read a fragment to when a man rises himself from the lowest condition in society to the highest, mankind pay him the tribute of their admiration. When he accomplishes this elevation by native energy, guided by prudence and wisdom, their admiration is increased. But when his course onward and upward, excellent in itself, furthermore proves a possible what had hitherto been regarded as an impossible reform, then he becomes a burning and shining light on which the aged may look with gladness, the young with hope, and the downtrodden is a representative of what they may themselves become. To such a man, dear reader, it is my privilege to introduce you. What do you think? What do you think of this powerful, powerful intro? What are your thoughts? What are everybody's thoughts on this super powerful intro? I'm gonna wait a second and then we're gonna actually read a bit more. The life of Frederick Douglass, recorded in the pages which follow, is not merely an example of self-elevation under the most adverse circumstances. It is, moreover, a noble vindication of the highest aims of the American anti-slavery movement. The real object of that movement is not only to disenthrall, it is also to bestow the uh, upon black people the exercise of all those rights from the possession of which he has been so long debarred. The book is trying to make me say the N word. Let's read a bit of the chapter 1. Chapter 1, Childhood. Place of birth. Character of the district. Tuckahoe. Origin of the name. Chaptank River. Time of birth. Genealogical. Trees mode of counting time. Names of grandparents. Their position. Grandmother. Especially esteemed. Born to good luck. Sweet potatoes. Superstition. The log cabin. Its charms. Separating children. My aunts. Their names, first knowledge of being a slave, old master, griefs and joys of childhood, comparative happiness of the slave boy and the son of a slaveholder. In Talbot County, Eastern Shore, Maryland, near Easton, the county town of that county, there is a small district of country, thinly populated and remarkable for nothing that I know of, more than for the worn-out, sandy desert-like appearance of its soil, the general dilapidation of its farms and fences, the indigent and spiritless character of its inhabitants, and the prevalence of ague and fever. The name of this singularly unpromising and truly famine-stricken district is Tuckahoe, a name well known to all Marylanders, black and white. It was given to this section of country probably at the first merely in derision, or it may possibly have been applied to it, as I have heard, because someone of its earlier inhabitants had been guilty of the petty meanness of stealing a hoe, or taking a hoe that did not belong to him. Eastern Shore men usually pronounce the word took as tuck. Tuckahoe, therefore, is in Maryland parlance. Tuckahoe, but whatever may have been its origin, and about this I will not be positive, that name has stuck in the district in question, and it is seldom mentioned but with contempt and derision, on account of the barrenness of its soil and the ignorance, indolence, and poverty of its people. Decay and ruin are everywhere visible, and the thin population of the place would have quitted it long ago, but for the Choptank River, which runs through it, from which they have abundance of shad and herring and plenty of ague and fever. It was in this dull, flat, and unthrifty district or neighborhood surrounded by a white population of the lowest order, indolent and drunken to a proverb, and among slaves who seemed to ask, "Oh, what's the use?" every time they lifted a hoe, that I, without any fault of mine, was born and spent the first years of my childhood. What do you think? Powerful book? I actually should read this off stream. I should read the whole thing on stream. But I don't think we're gonna read this today, the whole thing. So yeah, we've read a little bit of literature. So we have done that. I think so too. I think it's worth reading the whole thing. So thank you for linking this. I'm gonna link the thing in the YouTube as well. I think people should read this. I think people should know this. This is like a national lecture, right? It's like, is this a thing that you read at school in the US, like as a mandatory thing at school? A lecture at school? Is this one of the lectures at school? It feels like it should be a lecture at school. To be honest, like high school maybe. No? That is so weird considering how big. That is so strange considering how huge part of the history of the country this is. So strange. I would assume that it was. Huh. Wonder how many people actually read this book. I wonder how many people actually read this. My school gave the teachers a degree of freedom, so I got lucky and my history teacher gave it to us as a class read. Oh, okay. So you've read it at school, which I think should be naturally a thing. Yeah. So you had a good teacher, it seems. Okay, so we have read some authors. We're not we're sadly not going to be able to do rodeos, street fairs, or cookouts, or family reunions. Well, we're having a party now, so that's good. Wait, I need my blanket. Historical reenactments. Well, I'm not sure I'm ready to do a historical reenactment. And Miss Juneteenth contest. Wait, what? Miss Juneteenth contest? National Miss Juneteenth 2023. Bleh, my God. National Miss Juneteenth 2023's crown. She's already crowned. You wanna see? You wanna see the National Miss Juneteenth? Again, the whole point to celebrate freedom and to stick it to the slave owning class. Yeah, you wanna see the Miss Juneteenth of 2023? Here we go. National Miss Juneteenth of this year. It looks like there's a Polish flag in the upper left corner for some reason. Juneteenth became the first new federal holiday since Martin Luther King Jr. Day was adopted in 1983. Celebrations and traditions. The holiday is considered the longest running African American holiday and has been called America's second Independence Day, which yeah, I think that's a fitting title. What do you think? Do you think it's a fitting title? I think it is. Juneteenth is usually celebrated on the third Saturday in June. Historian Mitch Kachun considers that celebrations of the end of slavery have three goals. Okay. To celebrate, to educate, and to agitate. Which all three are good in my book. We are doing I guess all three. I'd like to believe we're doing all three. Early celebrations consisted of baseball, fishing, and rodeos. African Americans were often prohibited from using public facilities for their celebrations. What? Why? So they were often held at churches or near water. Let that sink in. Often prohibited from using public facilities for their celebrations. Celebrations were also characterized by elaborate, large meals and people wearing their best clothing. That sounds so cool. It was common for formerly enslaved people and their descendants to make a pilgrimage to Galveston. As early festivals received news coverage, Janice Hume and Noah Arcana considered that they served to assimilate African American memories within the dominant American history. Assimilate African American memories within the dominant American history. Observance today is primarily in local celebrations in many places. Juneteenth has become a multicultural holiday. Traditions include public readings of the Emancipation Proclamation, which we've done, which promised freedom, singing traditional songs I cannot sing, but we've listened to Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, Lift Every Voice and Sing, and reading of works by noted African Americans. We've read a bit of a noted author. Celebrations include picnics, rodeos, street fair, cookouts, family reunions, park parties, historical reenactments, blues festivals, and Miss Juneteenth contests. Why does the wiki repeat that whole part? Juneteenth celebrations often include lectures and exhibitions on African American culture. The modern holiday places much emphasis on teaching about African American heritage. Karen M. Thomas wrote in Emerge that community leaders have latched on to Juneteenth to help instill a sense of heritage and pride in Black youth. Celebrations are commonly accompanied by voter registration efforts, the performing of plays, and retelling stories. The holiday is also a celebration of soul food and other food with African American influences. In Turin's Review International, Anne Donovan and Karen DeBress write that barbecue is the centerpiece of most Juneteenth celebrations. Major news networks now host specials and marathons on national outlets featuring prominent Black voices. Barbecue. That sounds great. Many other countries many other countries celebrate Emancipation Day on August 1st and a few on other dates. The people of Nacimiento in Mexico hold a festival and reunion known as El Día de los Negros on June 19th. I think it's okay to read the full title here, right? In Spanish. Since 2021, the United Nations has designated August 31st as the International Day for People of African Descent. On September 22nd, 1862, President Abraham Lincoln announced that the Emancipation Proclamation would go into effect on January 1st, 1963. We have read it. What is this? What is this YouTube? Is it safe? Is this safe to show on stream?
pronouncenames.com.
There we go. Okay, Abraham Lincoln. Okay, I get it. I'm gonna read it correctly as I hear it.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln. Got it, thank you.
Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Do we have the correct pronunciation of your name?
Abraham Lincoln. Okay, got it. Promising freedom to enslaved people in all of the rebellious parts of sovereign states of the Confederacy. Texas was included, but not federally held territories, such as Delaware, Maryland, and West Virginia. Enforcement of the proclamation generally relied upon the advance of Union troops. Texas, as the most remote state of the former Confederacy, had seen an expansion of slavery because the presence of Union troops was low as the American Civil War ended. Thus, the enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation had been slow and inconsistent there prior to Granger's order. Although the Emancipation Proclamation declared the an end to slavery in the Confederate States, it did not end slavery in the states that remained in the Union. For a short while after the fall of the Confederacy, slavery remained legal in two of the Union border states, Delaware and Kentucky. Those enslaved people were freed with the ratification of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which abolished chattel slavery nationwide on December 6, 1865. Wow, thank you. Abraham Lincoln. Formerly enslaved people in Galveston rejoiced after General Order No. 3. 1 year later, on June 19, 1866, freedmen in Texas organized the first what became annual commemorations of Jubilee Day. Early celebrations were used as political rallies to give voting instructions to newly freed African Americans. Other independence observance occurred on January 1 or 4th. In some cities, black people were barred from using public parks because of state-sponsored segregation of facilities. It's not exactly a they all lived happily ever after story. Across parts of Texas, freed people pooled their funds to purchase land to hold their celebrations. The day was first celebrated in Austin in 1867 under the auspices of the Freedmen's Bureau, and it had been listed on a calendar of public events by 1872. That year, black leaders in Texas raised $1,000 for the purchase of 10 acres of. Okay, I have to check. Okay, value of $1872 now. The US dollar has lost 96% of its value since 1872. $100 in 1872 is equivalent purchasing power to about $2,000. So you add 10, $1,000 is 20,400. No, that would be $24,920, right? They've gathered $1,000, which would be today 24,920. Yeah, which is pretty nice. 10 acres of land, today known as Houston's Emancipation Park. Let's check it out. So this is the bought land. Oh, that's... I'm not sure what this is. Wow, this is... Wow. Wow. Damn. This is pretty nice, isn't it? The Emancipation Park. Would love to visit. Acquired in 1918. But it says here it was acquired in 1872. So I'm getting mixed messages here. Maybe Houston Parks bought it in 1918. Okay, to celebrate Juneteenth, the observation was soon drawing thousands of attendees across Texas. In Limestone County, an estimated 30,000 black people celebrated at Booker T. Washington Park, established in 1898 for Juneteenth celebrations. The black community began using the word Juneteenth for Jubilee Day early in 1890s. The current issue, a Texas periodical, used the word as early as 1909. And that year, a book on San Antonio remarked with condescension on Juneteenth. Oh, decline of celebrations during the Jim Crow era. So the celebrations were sort of not as prominent during the Jim Crow. I think I might need to go and grab my blanket real quick because I'm feeling really, really cold. I need my blanket. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be right back. Don't go anywhere. In fact, get more people in here, okay? I'm blanketed out. Oh my goodness. In the 20th century, economic and political forces led to a decline in Juneteenth celebrations. From 1890 to 1908, Texas and all former Confederate states passed new constitutions or amendments that effectively disenfranchised black people, excluding them from the political process. White-dominated state legislatures passed Jim Crow laws, imposing second-class status. Gladys L. Knight writes the decline in celebration was in part because upwardly mobile black people were ashamed of their slave past and aspired to assimilate into mainstream culture. Younger generations of black people becoming further removed from slavery were occupied with school and other pursuits. Others who migrated to the northern United States could not take time off or simply dropped the celebration. That is depressing. The Great Depression forced many black people off farms and into the cities to find work, where they had difficulty taking the day off to celebrate. From 1936 to 1951, the Texas State Fair served as a destination for celebrating the holiday, contributing to its revival. In 1936, an estimated 150,000 to 200,000 people joined the holiday celebration in Dallas. In 1938, Governor of Texas James Allred issued a proclamation stating in part, whereas the black people in the state of Texas observe June 19th is the official day for the celebration of emancipation from slavery, and whereas June 19th, 1865 was the date when General Gordon Granger, who had command of the military district of Texas, issued a proclamation notifying black people of Texas that they were free. And whereas since that time, black people of Texas have observed this day with suitable holiday ceremony, except during such years when the day comes on a Sunday, when the governor of the state is asked to proclaim the following day as the holiday for the state observance by black people. And whereas June 19th, 1938, this year falls on Sunday, now therefore I, James V. Allred, governor of the state of Texas, do set aside and proclaim the day of June 20th, 1938 as the day for observance of Emancipation Day in Texas, and do urge all members, all black people in Texas, to observe the day in a manner appropriate to its importance to them. Jesus. The language of the past was quite something else. "70,000 people attended a Juneteenth jamboree in 1951 from 1940 through 1970. In the second wave of the Great Migration, more than 5 million black people left Texas, Louisiana, and other parts of the South for the North and West Coast." As historian Isabel Wickerston writes, "The people from Texas took Juneteenth Day to Los Angeles, Oakland, Seattle, and other places they went. In 1945, Juneteenth was introduced in San Francisco by a migrant from Texas, Wesley Johnson. During the 1950s and 1960s, the civil rights movement focused the attention of African Americans on expanding freedom and integrating. As a result, observations of the holiday declined again, though it was still celebrated in Texas. Juneteenth soon saw a revival as black people began tying their struggle to that of ending slavery. In Atlanta, some campaigners for equality wore Juneteenth buttons during the 1968 Poor People's Campaign to Washington, D.C., called by Ralph Abernathy. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference made June 19th the Solidarity Day of the Poor People's Campaign. In the subsequent revival, large celebrations in Minneapolis and Milwaukee emerged, as well as across the eastern United States. In 1974, Houston began holding large-scale celebration again, and Fort Worth, Texas, followed in the next year. Around 30,000 people attended festivities at Sycamore Park in Fort Worth that following year. The 1978 Milwaukee celebration was described as drawing over 100,000 attendees. In 1979, the Texas legislature made the occasion a state holiday. In the late 1980s, there were major celebrations on Juneteenth in California, Wisconsin, Illinois, Georgia, and Washington, D.C. Prayer breakfast and commemorative celebrations. In 1979, Democratic State Representative Al Edwards of Houston successfully sponsored legislation to make Juneteenth a paid Texas state holiday. The same year, he hosted the inaugural Al Edwards Prayer Breakfast and commemorative celebration on the grounds of the 1859 home, Ashton Villa, as one of the few existing buildings from the Civil War era and popular in local myth and legend as the location of the Major General Granger's order. Edwards' annual celebration includes a local historian dressed as the Union General, reading General Order Number 3 from the second-story balcony of the home. The Emancipation Proclamation is also read and speeches are made. Representative L. Edwards died of natural causes April 29, 2020, at the age of 83. But the annual prayer breakfast and commemorative celebration continued at Ashton Villa, with the late legislator's son Johnson Edwards speaking in his father's place, which is pretty nice, actually. Hello, Jess. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the celebration. Happy Juneteenth. We've done a lot today for the Juneteenth. We've read the Declaration. Hello, Coconut Island citizens. Hello, hello. We've read the Declaration. We've listened to a song. We've read a fragment of the book. We're doing all the things that are typically done for the celebration of the Juneteenth, while we are reading what it is, what it's all about, the history of it, and everything. We are going for the full experience, apart, of course, from the street fair, cookout, and other things that I cannot do in front of you. Although technically speaking, if my setup was better, I could do a cookout, but as things are now, unfortunately, I cannot do a cookout. Maybe in the future. Official statewide recognitions. In the late 1970s, when the Texas legislature declared Juneteenth a holiday of significance, particularly to Black people of Texas. It became the first state to establish Juneteenth as a state holiday. The bill passed through the Texas legislature in 1979 and was officially made a state holiday on January 1, 1980. Before 2000, 3 more U.S. states officially observed the day, and over the next 2 decades, it was recognized as an official observance in all states except South Dakota until becoming a federal holiday. That is good advice, actually. You should drink a lot of water when you drink alcohol. That will lessen the effects of the alcohol significantly if you do that before bed. Juneteenth, because one of the things that alcohol does to you is dehydrate you, which a lot of people don't take into consideration, and it causes people to wake up with a hangover because of the dehydration. Juneteenth in pop culture and mass media. Since the 1980s and 1990s, the holiday has been more widely celebrated among African American communities and has seen increasing mainstream attention in the US. In 1991, there was an exhibition by the Anacostia Community Museum, part of the Smithsonian Institution, called Juneteenth 91 Freedom Revisited. In 1994, a group of community leaders gathered at Christian Unity Baptist Church in New Orleans to work for a greater national celebration of Juneteenth. Expatriates have celebrated it in cities abroad such as Paris. Some U.S. military bases in other countries sponsor celebrations. In addition to those of private groups, in 1999, Ralph Ellison's novel Juneteenth was published, increasing recognition of the holiday. By 2006, at least 200 cities celebrated the day. In 1997, activist Ben Hayth created the Juneteenth flag, which was further refined by illustrator Lisa Jean Graff. In 2000, the flag was first hoisted at the Roxbury Heritage State Park in Boston by Hayth. The star at the center represents Texas and the extension of freedom for all African Americans throughout the whole nation. The burst around the star represents a nova, and the red curve represents a horizon standing for a new era for African Americans. The red, white, and blue colors represent the American flag, which shows that African Americans and their enslaved ancestors are Americans, and the national belief in liberty and justice for all citizens. So it has a lot of meaning baked into it, the flag. The holiday gained mainstream awareness outside African American communities through depictions in entertainment media such as episodes of TV series Atlanta and Black-ish, the latter of which featured musical numbers about the holiday by Aloe Black, The Roots, and Farnsworth Bentley. In 2018, Apple added Juneteenth to its calendar in iOS, under official US holidays. Some private companies have adopted Juneteenth as a paid day off for employees, while others have officially marked the day in other ways, such as moment of silence. In 2020, several American corporations and educational institutions, including Twitter, the National Football League, Nike, began treating Juneteenth as a company holiday. Providing a paid day off to their workers, and Google Calendar added Juneteenth to its US holiday calendar. Also in 2020, a number of major universities formally recognized Juneteenth, either as a day of reflection or as a university holiday with paid time off for faculty and staff. Which is all like very good changes, right? Very good shift in the attitude of the wider society. The 2020 mother-daughter film on the holidays, pageant culture, Miss Juneteenth. Is it? Miss Juneteenth is a 2020 American drama film written and directed by Channing Godfrey Peoples and starring Nicole Beharie, Kendrick Saman, and Alexi. The plot follows a single mom and former teen beauty queen who enters her daughter into the local mess. I wonder if it's a good movie. If any of you have seen this movie, tell me, and maybe I'll watch it. If it's a good movie. I was going to... celebrates African American women who are determined to stand on their own, while a resourceful mother is getting past a sexist tendency in her community to keep women in their place. Becoming a federal holiday. Nice. Let's go. In 1996, the first federal legislation to recognize Juneteenth, Independence Day, was introduced in the U.S. House of Representatives. H.J. Res. 195, sponsored by Barbara Rose Collins. In 1997, Congress recognized the day through Senate Joint Resolution 11 and House Joint Resolution 56. In 2013, the U.S. Senate passed Senate Resolution 175 acknowledging Lula Briggs Galloway, late president of the National Association of Juneteenth League, who successfully worked to bring national recognition to Juneteenth, Independence Day, and the continued leadership of the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation. See? And now we're taking it a step further, and we are turning it into an international holiday, okay? An international holiday of people becoming free. In the 2000s and 2010s, activists continued a long process to push Congress towards official recognition of Juneteenth. Organizations such as the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation sought a congressional designation of Juneteenth as a national day of observance. By 2016, 45 states were recognized in the occasion. Activist Opal Lee, often referred to as the grandmother of Juneteenth, campaigned for decades to mark Juneteenth a federal holiday, leading walks in many states to promote the idea. In 2016-17, at the age of 89, she led a symbolic walk from Fort Worth Texas to Washington, D.C. to advocate for the federal holiday. When it was officially made a federal holiday on June 17, 2021, she was standing beside President Joe Biden as he signed the bill. Wow. Juneteenth became one of 5 date-specific federal holidays along with New Year's Day, Independence Day, Veterans Day, and Christmas Day. Juneteenth is the first new federal holiday since Martin Luther King Jr. Day was declared a holiday in 1986. Juneteenth also falls within the statutory Honor America Days period, which lasts for 21 days from Flag Day to Independence Day. Right? Legal observance. I guess that's only 2 things left. State and local. Texas was the first state to recognize the date by enacted law in 1980. By 2002, 8 states officially recognized Juneteenth, and 4 years later, 15 states recognized the holiday. By 2008, just over half of the states recognized Juneteenth in some way. In June 2019, Governor of Pennsylvania Tom Wolf recognized Juneteenth as a holiday in the state. In the year-long aftermath of the murder of George Floyd that occurred on May 25, 2020, 9 states designated Juneteenth a paid holiday, including New York, Washington, and Virginia. In 2020, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker issued a proclamation that the day would be marked as Juneteenth Independence Day. This following the filing of bills by both the House and Senate to make Juneteenth a state holiday. Baker did not comment on these bills specifically, but promised to grant the observance of Juneteenth greater importance. On June 16, 2021, Illinois adopted a law changing its ceremonial holiday to a paid state holiday. Some cities and counties have also recognized Juneteenth throughout proclamation. In 2020, Juneteenth was formally recognized by New York City as an annual official city holiday and public school holiday starting in 2021. Cook County, Illinois adopted an ordinance to make Juneteenth a paid count holiday. The city and county of Honolulu recognizes it as an annual day of honor and reflection, and Portland, Oregon as a day of remembrance and action and paid holiday for city employees. North Dakota approved recognition of Juneteenth as a state-recognized annual holiday on April 13, 2021, which Hawaii becoming the 49th state to recognize the holiday on June 16, 2021. On June 16, 2020, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem proclaimed that the following June 19, 2020 was to be Juneteenth Day for that year only, sporting calls for it to be recognized annually rather than just for 2020. Yeah. In February 2022, South Dakota became the last state to recognize Juneteenth as an annual state holiday of observance. Dakota. Its law provided for following the federal law even before it was official. On May 2nd, 2022, Colorado Governor Jared Polis signed a bill changing the state's ceremonial observance to a state holiday, and it is now the 11th state holiday in Colorado. As of May 30th, 2023, 24 states and the District of Columbia have made Juneteenth a paid holiday for state employees, with the remainder maintaining a ceremonial observance. New Mexico's Personnel Board declared it a paid worker holiday, although it is not statutory holiday in New Mexico. I can't believe that New Mexico is in the US. I guess it is what it is. It is what it is. National. Juneteenth is a federal holiday in the United States. For decades, activists and Congress members, led by many African Americans, proposed legislation, advocated for, and built support for state and national observances. During his campaign for president in June 2020, Joe Biden publicly celebrated the holiday. President Donald Trump, during his campaign for re-election, added making the day a national holiday part of his Platinum Plan for Black America. Oh, interesting. Spurred on by the advocates and the Congressional Black Caucus on June 15, 2021, the Senate unanimously passed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, establishing Juneteenth as a federal holiday. No, I don't know. But I do know it's a promise that he made. I mean, keep in mind, let's remember the whole LGBT flag that Trump waved around during his, in 2016. Unanimously, okay, unanimously, okay? Unanimously, my goodness. Unanimously, thank you. Jesus. I deserve a donation for saying it correctly, okay? I'm an English teacher. I should be pronouncing all of this perfectly. But for some reason I'm failing today. Even though I'm a certified English teacher. I have my what's the word? What's that not so erudite word? I have my qualifications. No, the other word. Qualifications? What was the other word? No. Credentials. There we go. Those are my credentials. You should say it in an outrageous American accent. There we go. Those are my credentials and stuff. Here we go. Blah, blah, blah. Establishing Juneteenth as a federal holiday, it subsequently passed through the House of Representatives by a 415-14 vote on June 16. President Joe Biden signed the bill on June 17, 2021. The bill is here actually, making Juneteenth the 11th American federal holiday and the first to obtain legal observance as federal holiday since Martin Luther King Jr. Day was designated in 1983. According to the bill, federal government employees will now get to take the day off every year on June 19th, or should the date fall on Saturday or Sunday, they will get the Friday or Monday closest to the Saturday or Sunday on which the date falls, respectively. So a long holiday, a long weekend, which everybody loves, actually. So what do you think? What do you think of the Juneteenth? Are you happy we are celebrating it today? Paid holidays are based, it's true.